Hello there, friends. Welcome to episode 59 of That One Gaming Podcast. My name is Colin, but I'm otherwise known as Delicious Morsels, and today here with me is Lucas, aka Karn Evil 9. How are you today, Lucas? I'm surrounded by rappies, and they won't stop playing dead, so I can make them actually dead. That's unfortunate. Anyway, we've also got Neil, better known as VMK89. How is Neil today? You know, for a space wizard with force powers, I seem to struggle a lot with putting out fires. Yeah, that does seem pretty ironic given the circumstances. Anyway, if you're new to the podcast, welcome. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, or one of many other podcasting platforms out there where
I have been locked in the basement for the last 3 weeks, forced to play PSO. And finally, I'm free. Wait, Lucas, what are you doing?
Posting the episode.
But Neil and I were locked downstairs, and I just noticed the door was unlocked, so we could finally get out and get some fresh. Are you impersonating us?
Maybe.
Seriously, we finally give you a PSO episode, and this is what you do.
Yeah.
You diss my problems with the force powers?
Oh my god. I can't believe you right now.
I can.
Okay, no, you're right. I can totally believe you right now. Anyway, yeah, as he was saying, if you're new to this podcast, welcome. I am Colin, better known as Delicious Morsels. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, or one of the many other podcasting platforms out there where the three of us get together every other week to talk about a variety of topics in the world of gaming. And this week, we are diving into the first ever massively multiplayer online game made specifically for consoles. That one game, Phantasy Star Online. Originally released near the tail end of the year 2000 for the Sega Dreamcast, PSO took advantage of the Dreamcast's online functionality to allow up to 4 players to team up and take on a variety of missions together. The game's story tasks players with investigating the catastrophe that befell Pioneer 1, the previous expedition sent to the planet Ragol with hopes of colonization. Throughout the story, the player would discover notes left behind by a character by the name of Red Ring Rico, a Pioneer 2 resident that seemingly vanished upon reaching Ragol's surface. Through these notes, something sinister is discovered regarding the true nature of the planet and Pioneer 1's misfortune. Players were also able to create their own characters from one of 12 different classes, each with unique strengths and weaknesses. Upon release, PSO was met with critical acclaim, and it would later see ports to Xbox, Gamecube, as well as PC, and even today, years after its official servers went offline, there remains a strong fan community keeping the game alive via the Ephinea private servers. But before we get into that, now that Neil and I have finally clawed our ways out of the dungeons, at last.
I'm really hungry right now.
Yeah.
Have a mono.
Could use some water.
Didn't find any
something.
cake down there.
So, I'm very dehydrated. Oh my god, the
Honestly,
cake.
I could eat a Trimate right now.
The cake was a bit hard. A little bit stale. I had to go all the way to the back of the cave for it. I mean, that kind of hampers the freshness of it by the time you get there.
Well, they
Especially
went
if you
down
go
into the cave specifically to bake it, so.
But then they had to wait for people to show up.
Took order, I'm sure.
This episode is so derailed. Honestly, it's kind of my fault. Oh my god.
You
Anyway,
could have just stayed in the basement and let me do this.
That's true. Anyway, before we get to our main topic, we like to talk about the games that we've been playing since the last episode. And, well, I just mentioned we've been trapped in the basement playing PSO, but, in the off chance that, Neil, have you had a chance to sneak in anything else over the last couple weeks? without
More
Lucas
Sonic
knowing.
Generations.
Hell yeah.
More Sonic Generations, yeah.
Nice.
I'm going to talk about briefly. So there's a remake coming out, Sonic X Shadow Generations.
So
And
edgy.
from early screenshots, people were saying it looks like it's not going to have a lives system,
Interesting.
which kind of bums me out because the way you got lives in this game was fairly easy. All you got to do is replay levels, and sort of a similar to like Sonic Adventure 2, where you can just replay the best levels, get stuff for the Chow Garden. If you need levels, just replay Green Hill Zone and Speed Highway and City Escape and Rooftop Run, and you can just buy one-ups for 500 points, which you get like between 300 and 500 points for beating a stage.
Mhm.
So if those early screenshots end up being what's in the later game, I'm going to be kind of disappointed to have infinite lives.
Devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Live systems are a relic of the past, and we have moved beyond them for a reason.
Well, yes, I agree with you. Like, all Mario games should not have lives. Sonic games sort of were designed with the fact that you have to get lives, that you run out of lives as part of how the gameplay loop works. Like, going full steam straight through the game is not the best thing. You should go until you get stuck, and when you game over, you go back to the start and play it again, because you'll be better at all those previous stages. And then you'll have more lives accumulated because you played those older stages, and then you can get farther than you did the last time. But
I mean, that same logic could be applied to a Mario game with lives also.
But like, Sonic is built around like improving, and like your first time through a Sonic level, you're not going to do very good. Once you play it more than once, that's where the fun comes in. So, but I get it. People want. I think they should have a toggle, I guess, is what I'm hoping for.
A toggle would be a great middle ground.
Yeah. I will say though, if you just
I think life system should come back because people seem to obsess over these like unnecessarily difficult games, like the Souls games, and why not have lives in that? That would make it even harder for people.
You're not wrong there, I guess. Oh my god, can you imagine Elden Ring with a lives counter? That would be... Someone should mod it.
Yeah.
I would say...
I know a lot of people do a challenge run where if they die, they just nuke their character and start over. So there's that.
They should do that.
But like, Celeste is really, really hard, and they designed it that way because they knew they didn't have a life counter.
Right.
That game was designed without a life counter in mind.
Yep. But they've also built in stuff like strawberries and the B sides and the C sides and friggin' all of Chapter 9. and with all that, I can still say skill issue to people about things. But also then people can say skill issue to me too, because I haven't beaten Chapter 9A yet.
Elden Ring is a Mega Man game.
Weirdly, yes.
To quote Nick Weiger from the Get Played podcast, that's not my original idea, but I kind of agree with it.
Yeah.
Which means, by that logic, Lucas, you need to play Elden Ring.
Apparently, yeah.
Well, I have good news for you. Now, thanks to Steam's new family system, the next time Elden Ring goes on sale for $30 and I have the funds available, I plan to buy it because I want to play it on my Steam Deck. But because of Steam's new family system, by extension, I could then also give you access to play my copy of Elden Ring. So, should that come to pass, you should play Elden Ring. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I need to play more of it, but I'm waiting to play it on Steam Deck at this point. Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway,
I also managed to sneak a couple games in that weren't PSO.
hell yeah.
For some reason.
I mentioned on the last episode I was playing Tales of Xillia, and I beat it.
Nice.
And it is now my third favorite of the Tales games that I've played. It's very, very good. Phenomenally good. And I found out, interestingly, that I also unintentionally played a truncated version of the game because I mentioned that there are two protagonists, and whichever one you choose at the start of the game affects what route you go through in the game and stuff. So, like, whenever those two characters are separated, you are sticking with the character that you chose at the start, and then whatever the other character happens to them, that happens off screen, and then you kind of get a recap of it when they reconvene.
Mm-hmm.
Well, turns out that Mila's route is kind of designed as the replay route. So, like, you already know the big plot points and everything that's really going on and stuff. So, it's a lot shorter than Jude's playthrough, apparently. I beat the game in about 25 hours, and I think Jude's playthrough is more in the high 30s, close to 40 hours. And I was like, huh. It didn't stop me from enjoying the game at all. I mean, it's still my third favorite Tales game. Even after that. It was really cool how they handled it, though, because it was like, I would just get to a point where Mila is separated from Jude for a while, and then we come back, and all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of stuff that it's like, wait, where'd this character come from? What's going on here? And then they just kind of like, they give you like the abridged version of what went on Jude's side. But if you would have played as Jude from the beginning, you would play through all of that extra stuff, and then you know where that character came from, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're missing specific things that Mila goes through while she's separated and stuff. But so Jude is designed to be like the first playthrough, and then now that you've seen all of the game's story, you can play through it as Mila and have a more streamlined experience. So a lot of like the longer sections of the game are shortened and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool setup. And I can't wait for the remaster that is inevitably going to come out hopefully next year, so that way I can play through Jude's route as well, because I really, really enjoyed that game. But after that, I got the game Visions of Mana, and it's the first new mainline entry to the Mana series in like over 15 years.
Yeah.
I think the last one came out in 2006, if I recall. And this game is phenomenal, guys. Like, the entire game from the beginning just gives me like such like Saturday morning cartoon mixed with like classic PS2 era action game vibes. Like, it feels like a relic of a much simpler, more endearing time. And just the way that they use like color in this game, like this game is so vibrant and colorful, and I just love the world design. I love the characters. I actually beat it this morning as well.
Nice.
And I loved everything about it. It's such a phenomenal game. And another example of why you just should not pay attention to review scores and their stupid arbitrary numbers to determine a game's worth.
It's
the
crazy.
Metacritic score for Visions of Mana right now is 74. This is one of my favorite games I played all year. Especially after finishing it. Like, if I would have just been like, oh, it's got a yellow score on Metacritic, so it must not be good. It's like, if I'd have just passed up on it because of that, I would have deprived myself of one of my favorite experiences this year. I absolutely adored this game. And it's like, the score is valid. There are faults with the game. It's not perfect. But I had a 10 out of 10 good time with this 7 out of 10 game. So the 7 out of 10 does not mean anything to me at all. I would absolutely encourage people to pick this one up and give it a try if they're even mildly interested in it. I think it's just a phenomenal game. It's not perfect, but it's very, very good, and the highs far, far outweigh the lows. I really liked the villain in this game. He had a very compelling arc, and all of the characters were really endearing. There's one character that speaks almost exclusively in alliterations, and I love it. It's like, it took me a minute to pick up on it, and then once I noticed it, it was like every time she talked, I was like, I know what you're doing, and I'm here for this. But yeah, sadly, the day the game came out, the studio's parent company, NetEase, because Square Enix published the game, but they outsourced development of it to a different studio because all of their teams were kind of preoccupied at the moment. And they weren't really sure because it's been so long since we got a new mainline Mana game that wasn't just a remake, that they weren't sure how successful it was going to be for them. So they outsourced it so that way they could still get the game made for the people that want it to a studio called Oka. It's like Ouka. And the day the game came out, NetEase decided that they were going to shutter the studio. They laid off about like almost the entire workforce, leaving just a skeleton crew to basically finalize getting the game out the door and some whatever other projects they had going, just kind of finalizing those and stuff. But they basically closed the studio the day it came out, and that was like really kind of
that sucks.
bad. But saw a lot of people online being like, well, now I'm not gonna buy this game because screw NetEase, and that's kind of missing the point. Because, screw NetEase.
Yeah.
But Square Enix was already unsure of the demand for this franchise when they greenlit this game. So if nobody buys this game, then it might be another 15 years before we see another Mana game.
Yeah.
And I really, really enjoyed this game and recommend trying it out if it's something that interests you. Now, if your reason for passing up on it is not motivated by like sticking it to NetEase and stuff, like you just genuinely can't afford to buy it, or it's not something that interests you, that's one thing. But if you were going to buy it and then you got the news about the studio closing and now you're not, I would definitely encourage you to rethink that. It is worth playing. It is a wonderful game, and I would love to see, in a perfect world, Square Enix pick up a lot of the team members that made it and make a new creative studio within Square Enix for them to continue making Mana games in the future.
Yeah.
Because they did a lot of things really well with this one, and I want to see it continue. But anyway, guess we should get to the other game we've been playing. The game we've been trapped in the basement playing for...
As you
oh
should.
My god. Anyway, main topic. Phantasy Star Online.
It's a good game.
It is.
I'm playing it right now.
I believe you.
I believe you too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I have definitely told the story of my first experience with it probably multiple times over the last couple of years on this show.
I think so. I keep bringing up PSO.
Yeah, that's true. But I first played it way back on the Dreamcast as a kid. and didn't understand the concept of an online game at the time because I was like, I would have been 11, 12.
Yeah.
And this was brand new technology at the time, like being able to play online, especially on a console. The Dreamcast was the first console to do it.
Yep.
So I thought that because the game was called Phantasy Star Online, that it was just always online, and all of the NPCs were real people.
Yeah.
I remember this story.
Yeah. Like I said, I've definitely told it before. So that was really funny. But so I've always had like a special place in my heart for this game. I will say, playing it in 2024 doesn't feel as good as playing it in 2001.
I mean, I beg to differ, but I also like hardcore nostalgia vision.
Yes. Yeah, I mean,
I'm also not having to learn anything new about a game that I'm already familiar with. So.
Yeah. So where, like in Neil and I's case, like the furthest I'd ever made it in this game was somewhere midway through the caves, which is the second dungeon you unlock.
Mm-hmm.
So playing it now for the podcast and getting further than that, even it was like, so learning all this stuff on the fly, learning these dungeon layouts and stuff, and just not knowing immediately where to go in all these dungeons and all that stuff is so it leads to some very, very long, drawn out sessions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the game is pretty slow in times.
It can
like,
be, yeah.
Especially with me, because I insisted on using a ranged weapon because I didn't like enemies getting up on me at all. Because every time they did, I got slapped around. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to use a gun. And the fire rate for the handgun, at least, is pretty slow. Like it's like
much better.
No,
Yeah,
it's unfortunate because it's like,
and the shots are even slower. Mech guns are fast though.
Yeah,
because they fire in a 3-shot burst.
Yeah. But what I do like about the game is like the way that attacks combo on one another. What I don't like is they cap out at 3 hits, which is fine. That part's fine. It's just the space between starting up the next round of attacks is just a little bit too long.
Yeah.
Because it's like shoot, shoot, shoot. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Like just a little bit too long. So when you have hordes of enemies coming up on you, and there are points in this game where they send hordes of enemies at you to have shoot, shoot, shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. Shoot, shoot, shoot. It drags a little bit.
Yeah, what I discussed in my last episode in our last episode, sorry, of being stuck with a handgun in the fire the firefighting episode.
Yep.
Yeah, the Burning Rangers mission. That was really, really rough. And I imagine, Colin, your gun was doing way more damage on each hit. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say, when having those force powers, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, space magic is fun.
Mm-hmm.
I played as a Hugh Newell, which is a ranger class. That
it's a hunter.
Right?
Class.
No, it's a hunter class. That's right, because Hugh, HU.
Yep.
Right. It's a hunter, but I spec'd myself into being able to use ranged weapons.
Yeah.
And I also get access to spellcasting, a limited pool of spells. So it's like kind of a Lucas always describes it as a red mage.
Yeah. Yeah, Funerals get the largest pool of techniques outside of any of the force classes. They're a really good do anything class.
And there were times when Lucas and I were playing together where I basically said, I'm healer. See, while in solo play, it does, like, the pace at which the game plays in solo play, it does kind of drag on a little bit. But as soon as you add another player into the mix, it's like all of that just kind of melts away. And this game is incredibly fun to play multiplayer.
Yeah.
Indeed, yeah. All you need is one other person. We did play a couple times with all three of us, and that was a blast.
Yeah, I wish we would have had more time to really go through like all of the government missions.
Yeah.
Because a little bit of reading I was doing is like the government missions almost give you a better like gist of the story than the solo play missions do.
Yeah. And I can confirm this because I did actually go through the government quests solo with my Rocka Seal, because of course I did.
Yeah.
I mean, who says we had to stop playing PSO after this episode, though?
That is true.
I know I'm not.
I'm just not going to be locked in the basement for it anymore. I refuse.
Yep. I'm getting McDonald's when I want to.
But yeah, I mean, I've also got it on my laptop for portability's sake, so...
Yeah. This almost certainly will run on your Steam Deck, too.
Yeah. Yeah, it should. It's just like a little bit more setup on the Steam Deck side, because Steam Deck.
Yep.
But that's
honestly, I think this would probably be a pretty good Steam Deck game.
Yeah, I think it would be, actually. Like the one reason I didn't really like spring to put it on my Steam Deck and was mainly because it's like, well, I would have wanted to play it at work on my lunch breaks. And that's something I initially was wanting to do until I got a little bit further into the story and started playing some of these longer quests.
Yeah.
It was like, there is no way I'm going to be able to get one of these quests done on my lunch break.
Yeah.
So...
Honestly, that was my biggest dislike of the game.
Yeah, probably you'd be fine, but like, you know, anything caves and onwards, they're looking at anywhere between like 45 minutes to an hour per quest.
Yeah. It's like Forest is incredibly misleading with this like 15, 20-minute quests.
Yep.
Yeah, it would get very frustrating where I'd be like, what appeared to be like 3/4 of the way through a quest, and it was like getting late, and it's like I'm kind of falling asleep here, but if I cut off, there's no way to pause and come back later, then I'm gonna have to go through that first 30 minutes all over again.
Yeah.
And like I was telling Lucas about this earlier this morning, but and Neil, you were there, but like once you get to Ruins, which is the 4th dungeon, so they also, once you get to Ruins, one thing I did like about Ruins was they, like, crank up the story for Ruins. Like, every single quest in Ruins has its own little story events that play out in the quest.
Okay.
Whereas, like, all of the previous areas quests, I mean, every now and then you get one, but for the majority of them, it was just basically you get from point A to point B, essentially.
Yeah.
And there's nothing really in between. But yeah, so they crank up the story a lot in Ruins, which is what I like, because it was getting really interesting and really good. But there was one mission I was doing that one night that you were streaming Incredible Machine in the Discord, Neil, that I got all the way to the end of this mission, and I had a character with me as a companion, and got to the very end after an hour of playing this one mission, and my companion died, which caused automatic failure for the mission. I was in the last room of that quest. I had to fight through one more batch of monsters, and I would have been done. So I was like, after that, I just kind of put my controller down, and I went to you, Neil. I was like, yeah, that's enough PSO for one night, I think.
Yeah. Seek My Master is a rough quest because for some reason, even at, I think she's at level 30 on normal difficulty, and has a rare mech gun, the HNS-25 Justice, which is a really good mech gun from my own experience, somehow she is doing like damage that you could be doing with just like your regular base mech gun at that point in the game.
Yeah, it's pretty
Oh,
wild.
jeez.
They must have given Shino a custom stat block for that quest because
Yeah.
at level 30, a Rocket Seal does not do that little damage.
Yeah, and like basically like it was probably like 7 or 8 monsters that ganged up on us at that point, and like I had run around to get at a range so I could avoid their attacks, and then they all just converged in on her, and before I could get back over to her to cast a healing spell, she was lying dead on the ground, and the speech bubble comes up, master. And then I'm back in the lobby. Like, oh, hey.
Yeah. Fortunately, Shino is very much the exception to the rule when it comes to NPC character helpers in PSO.
I liked the old guy that was just like, I want to I want to kill 10,000 monsters. I have killed 901. I need to kill 99 more. Or wait, 9,901 monsters that he's killed in his life. It's like, I need to kill 99 more, but I'm old and weak. Please come with me and help me.
I feel like I'm going to die in specifically a half hour.
Yeah. And then he does.
Yep.
Some of the quests in this game are really silly, and I do really appreciate that.
Cake.
Yeah.
Look, not the cake though. Not the cake. Oh my god.
I like the cake. That was funny.
Yeah. That quest, I think I mentioned it in What Are We Playing previous, but that quest is actually just an elaborate Phantasy Star 1 reference.
Yeah.
It's too elaborate.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that the dungeons in Phantasy Star 1 were like first-person 3D mazes. Like, they weren't like top-down dungeons like, Final Fantasy on the NES.
Yeah, okay, so it's like more of like a dungeon crawler type perspective.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I haven't played the original Phantasy Star.
Yeah. Like, honestly, if it weren't for being on the Master System, Phantasy Star probably legitimately would have given Final Fantasy a run for its money.
I believe it. I mean, especially 2 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Phantasy Star. It's only sin being on a Sega console instead of Nintendo.
Unfortunately.
But at the same time, it's like the RPGs that are on Sega are ridiculously good. Allegedly.
Yeah.
I haven't played them, but I've heard nothing but good things. I mean, there's like on the Genesis, you have the Shining Force games, Phantasy Star. Like, I think
Wise.
3 and 4 are Genesis games.
2, 3, and 4.
2, 3, and 4 are Genesis games. Okay. And then, like, on the Dreamcast, Phantasy Star Online, Skies of Arcadia.
Yep.
Like, Sega had some good RPGs on their systems. It's just...
They did.
Unfortunate that they were on Sega. Not because Sega was bad, but because it's just not Nintendo.
Yeah.
It didn't survive.
It's like I'm trying to phrase this in a way that's not like console war-y.
Right.
Like, which is hard.
Yep.
Like, I love Sega consoles, but like, it's just looking at it completely objectively. RPG A on Nintendo has higher chance of success than RPG B on Sega.
Yeah.
Is just being completely objective about it. I don't like that that's the case. I wish that the Sega RPGs were like able to succeed more.
Mm-hmm.
Because Phantasy Star absolutely should be in a place that Final Fantasy is in right now.
Yeah.
Like, we should have a Phantasy Star 16. Like,
yeah.
And it's a shame we don't.
Yep. Instead, we have PSO2, a free-to-play gacha RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, At least Phantasy Star Online and Phantasy Star Universe were good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do appreciate all of the what little references I do recognize, with the NPC characters that they've put in. Sue that you meet in Mines is more or less like a modernized representation of Nee, the first ever Newman introduced in the Phantasy Star series from Phantasy Star 2. And you can actually get Nee's Claw. Well, two versions of it actually. There's Nee's Claw copy and then Nee's Claw, the one that you actually get from like a extremely rare enemy drop instead of buying it from Gallon's Photon Drop shop in episode 2. And there's also Rika's Claw, who is one of the Newman characters featured in Phantasy Star 4. Yeah. Yeah. Any particular standout NPC characters since we're on the subject of them?
Well, I wasn't really the biggest fan of Dr. Montague. He was kind of annoying.
Yeah, he's goofy.
He's always just like, he's always giggling. It's like, shut up, man. This is serious business. And like the mission that the quest that you meet him in is like the most like they throw so many different gameplay mechanics into that one mission.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you guys doing? It's like first it's like you're following him through this area, and then you have to like tail this character, and then you're doing like a forced stealth section that is just miserable to play.
Yep.
Just because of how like janky and outdated the game's movement system is, and like the way that line of sight cones work for enemies is just, oh my god, that section was brutal.
Yeah, the stealth section in Soul of Steel is
That was
annoying.
bad. It was very bad.
I regularly fail it at least 3 to 4 times. Now, that being said, his pink robot daughter, Eleanor, is PSO's best girl. Don't at me.
Yeah, I was gonna bring her up. I liked her.
She is very good, yes.
Yeah. And back when Blue Burst originally released on PC, they actually released Eleanor model kits along with like kind of Gunpla style. So, guess what I'm gonna buy on payday?
That's awesome, actually.
Yeah. There's actually one for Shino as well, and then Red Rhea, Yellow Bows, and White Hill. Just kind of generic Raka seals. And I want to pick up the White Hill one because it has the same head unit that my Raka seal character has, and like custom paint it. That way I can have, a model of my own PSO character.
Yeah, more PSO Gunpla.
Yeah. Interestingly, the only like PSO characters they did as model kits were specifically the Raka seal characters. So yeah, I don't know why they didn't do any of the other casts. Because like, who wouldn't want Tyric as a model, Mr. Intimidating Purple Android from Battle Training. The guy with the scythe.
Oh yeah, the guy that just like mows down everything.
Yes, yeah, that was a cool way to have a tutorial.
Yeah,
It's like, you see, this could be you.
Right, yeah, it's sort of a like Mega Man Zero cutscene fighting what's his name, the purple guy.
Vile.
I mean Mega Man X.
Yeah,
Mega Man X. Zero fighting Vile is kind of like, this is what you will become. Here's demonstration of how cool it will be.
Yeah. And if you follow the correct series of choices throughout the quests, then you too can own his Soul Eater scythe.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a couple of dialogue option paths that can affect stuff for that. Yeah. That is one thing that I will say is that like PSO gets better on replay is that once you get to hard mode, then rare items and rare weapons start appearing with significantly more frequency. Normal mode, you just kind of get
the drop rates on normal mode are incredibly
Yeah.
boring.
Yeah. You
Like
just
every
get
now and
stuff
then you
like,
get the special chime for a rare item and you're like, oh, cool. And then it's something that you really can't even use.
yeah, it's like a photon drop or a amplifier of whatever, or I think Colin found an ad slot once,
Yeah. Yeah, that was
which I'm
one thing
extremely
going.
jealous of
Yeah.
because I have found exactly one ad slot in almost 20 years of playing
Oh
PSO.
God.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's something I wish that normal mode did do a little bit better was upgrade frequency. Like
Yeah.
like you really it felt like getting upgrades to equipment was not very well spaced out. Like
Yeah.
I was going
Mhm.
like basically an entire dungeon section before I found an upgrade to my armor or something that was worth keeping.
Yeah.
Same thing for weapons and stuff. It's like really it's like the weapon that you get at the start of a dungeon is gonna be the one that carries you through that entire dungeon. And I just wasn't really too fond of that.
Yeah.
Like I want more stuff.
Yeah. And there's a couple of quests in solo mode that do kind of throw you a bone by like sending you to one of the later areas of a dungeon first, which gives you an opportunity to find like the end of dungeon items beforehand to take on the dungeon with. Like in the quest Retired Hunter in Ruins, where you've got Donoff with you and he's about to die and wants you to kill a bunch of things with him. Like since that takes place in Ruins 3, there's like pretty good chance that you can get lock guns or busters or blanking on whatever the force item is because
I think at one point it's like one of the higher level force items is just stick.
Yep.
And I laughed when I first saw that. I was like, "Are you serious? So you're going from cane to stick?"
Yep.
And I think there's something in between cane and stick. There's
Rod.
also wand. Yeah. And I think after stick is wand. But-
no, wands are
Yeah.
it's cane stick mace club.
Join
Then
the
it's
club.
like wand staff.
Oh, different weapon
Something.
archetype. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny. It's a stick.
Yeah.
Like what? Why wouldn't that be the first version of that? It's like I have this really nice custom handmade cane, but it's just not doing it anymore. Gotta replace it
Yeah.
with a stick.
Yep.
This random stick I found while running around the woods.
I mean, it worked for Yoda.
It's true.
I mean, Yoda was pretty good with the Force.
So I think one of the interesting things about PSO that I kind of want to bring up is it was developed by Sonic Team
Yeah.
Mhm.
with Yuji Naka
Mhm.
serving as producer.
Mhm.
Yuji Naka also, of course, famous for Sonic the Hedgehog, among things, but also
Famous for tax fraud.
but also like he was working as a programmer on the single player Phantasy Star games as well.
Oh, cool.
But by the time that they moved on, this is according to Wikipedia where I'm getting this from here, but apparently by the time that they started conceptualizing what Phantasy Star Online would eventually become, most of the team behind Phantasy Star 4 had already departed. So rather than kind of continuing the like look and feel of the series to that point, they kind of just reimagined the entirety of the franchise's visual identity to jump into 3D with Phantasy Star Online. So like the character designs and everything in PSO are radically different from the mainline games that preceded it.
Yeah.
And like the only real like thread that pulls them together is their space sci-fi games.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Phantasy Star 1 through 4 still look very much fantasy for being space fantasy. Whereas like Phantasy Star Online, you have casts, which are an entire like android race for player characters that I think existed sort of in or later on in Phantasy Star 3, but they weren't mainstays of the series like the human and Newman characters were, and like basically space elves.
I'm a human, I'm a Newman, I'm a kid now, I'm a squid now.
Yeah. As far as characters go, I mean, I played a variety of characters. I think I only ever saw you guys playing like your first characters. You ever try out any of the other character types?
I think I played a very small amount as a ranger, ranger, the ranged one.
Yeah.
As the robot rangers, the androids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've played with that one a bit in the past. I didn't really mess around with any alternative classes in this specific playthrough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've messed around with the casts a bit as well in the past because they're cool robot people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They just can't use techniques because that requires some form of organics, and obviously they're robots. They don't have organics. They're not Dragon Ball Z androids.
Yeah.
I just love the character designs of the casts, though. They're really cool looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always been a big fan of like the Hugh cast and the Raka Seal, and also Hugh Seal. And honestly, I love how like sort of robot battle armor or almost Gundam like that the Ra cast is.
Yeah. Yeah, some of them do have a Gundam-like quality to it, for sure. Probably contributes to my liking of them, because I also like Gundams.
Yeah.
So here's a question. Since neither of us made it beyond episode 1, I tapped out, I assume most of the way through Ruins by the time I tapped out. But, I mean, where I was at, it was starting to wear on me a little bit. But, episode 2, do they unlock any more dungeons? Are there new areas to explore in episode 2, or do they? Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Episode 2 starts out with having you do a virtual reality evaluation in a temple setting and a spaceship setting, using enemies pulled from episode 1 from all of the different dungeons.
Interesting. So there just straight up no new enemies?
Just in these 2 areas. Once you've completed your VR evaluation, you are then granted to go to Galdeval Island, a new location separate from where Pioneer 1 was situated, on Ragol. And you are... it's revealed that you are actually, like, you had to do the evaluation because you are tracking down research and the last known whereabouts of Heathcliff Flowen, who was like a top-ranking general on Pioneer 1, who you then find out was used for like human experimentation after being infected with D cells from Dark Falls, breaking free of its containment in Ruins. And then Dr. Osto uses him for experiments, and he eventually becomes Olga Flo after having the Olga AI supercomputer merged into him.
Right, and you talked about this on a boss fight episode. I forget if it was Wrecked or...
Probably boss fights that wrecked us, because Olga Flo sucks.
Yeah.
That's a rough fight
sounds right.
solo.
Well, let's talk about the bosses in episode 1, because that's at least I got to do 3.
Don't suck.
I got to do 3 of the 4. Neil, did you get to the end
I did
of
not
caves?
get to the end of caves, no, but I was very close.
We did fight D. Roll-E together, though, in one of the multiplayer.
Yes, yep.
That sure was one of the quests of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was also one where I was very underleveled compared to you.
Probably. I think I was playing my Raka Seal character for that one, and I was like halfway through hard mode with her.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very early on. I think it would have been the first multiplayer session we did.
Probably.
So I think I was still singing single digit levels, actually.
Whoa.
Yeah, probably.
That's good XP.
Yeah. That's why when you joined in with us when we were all playing at once, I had higher levels than you did.
Yeah.
Despite me being further behind in the story. I mooched off of Lucas. Yay!
It works.
Yep.
Yeah, the first boss for the forest area is a big dragon. He's fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was a ton of
flies
fun.
around. Yeah, just flies around.
You have to fight him again in one of the cave missions.
Yeah.
And I had a lot more fun with him that time because he was a lot easier to take out.
Yep. Yeah, there's another boss rematch somewhere in Mines where you have to fight the caves boss again.
Yep.
That refight, while it wasn't as bad as the first fight because you had naturally leveled up since the first fight with it, that fight still sucked because the caves boss sucks.
Yeah.
It's Lucas described it as a lot of hurry up and wait in that boss fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
D-Rolly involves a lot of waiting. Unless you're a ranger or a force with like medium high level techniques that have the range to reach him.
Yeah, I did not enjoy that fight. And I had a ranged weapon and I had spells and it's just very annoying.
Yeah.
I think the first time I fought it, I was down to like one healing item.
That sounds
not,
about right.
Not healing item, but I was down to one TP restoration item. TP is like your magic points.
Yep.
In Phantasy Star. Yeah, I had like one monomate left. I think I was out of die and trimates. It was rough.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
D-Rolly is a menace.
And then the Ruins boss. Not Ruins boss. The Mines boss, Volopt.
Volopt. I don't think I ever heard your thoughts on Volopt.
That was a fun fight, but it took me a moment to really figure out what it was asking me to do.
Yeah.
Because there's this big thing on the ceiling right in the center of the room that you shoot down.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, like some pyres will come up on the sides, or like some screens will light up and the face will come up on the screen, and like you can shoot at all of this stuff. And it was very confusing. It's like eventually I figured out that the face was kind of going around the screens in a circular pattern. It's like going clockwise around the room. Passing between all the screens, and like once he comes up on the screen, you just gotta shoot the screen until you blow it up. So that way he can't use that screen anymore.
Yeah.
It was an interesting fight. And then there's a second phase where he basically possesses a scorpion tank.
Yep.
It's almost like a scorpion tank, like from the beginning of Final Fantasy VII. That's what it reminded me of. Just without the tail. That makes it an actual
computer
scorpion.
Unit.
Yeah. Volopt is a sentient computer program.
Yep. It is one of Pioneer 1's 3 artificial intelligence computers.
Huh. I just put 2 and 2 together just now, but that's kind of like Xenoblade. Because Xenoblade has the Trinity processor, and those are 3 intelligences.
Yeah. Then
What? Phantasy Star Online is a Xenoblade game?
Yeah. And then I believe it's in the quest Knowing One's Heart, where you and Ellie Person, a Bonural, go down to Ragol into Mines 1 to find her pen pal Callus, who was on Pioneer 1, that had recently started messaging her again after the incident.
She had a crush on a computer.
Yeah, as it turns out,
that's
she was attracted to a computer this whole time. And
that's the TLDR.
Yep. Callus and Ellie actually become like main characters in episode 2. Like, they are, I kid you not, like one of the main driving forces of the main cast of episode 2. So at the end of Knowing One's Heart, before Callus shuts down, Ellie makes a backup, and then they use the backup to like basically rebuild Callus on board Pioneer 2. And then later on, once you've completed the VR quest, it is revealed that your operator for the VR trial was Ellie this whole time, and she's joined the lab because she wants to work with Cal more. And then there's the third AI computer from Pioneer 1, Olga, which you probably put 2 and 2 together on where the Olga and Olga flow comes from. Yeah. They put in some real long-term storytelling between episodes 1 and 2.
That's part of the charm of MMOs.
Yeah.
Is like these threads that like may seem insignificant at first, and then like years down the line they pull it out and they're like, hey, you remember this? Like, yeah, that's Final Fantasy XIV's MO right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that aspect of it.
Yeah. I think probably the most notable instance of that in PSO is like the whole Black Paper storyline. So in, I believe it's Dr. Osto's research, one of the quests for mines, you meet up with Sue, a Hune that is basically just a entire huge reference to Ni from Phantasy Star 2, claw and all. And she'll join up with you, and then at the end of the quest, she'll ask you your name, because she realized that she never asked what your name was throughout the entire quest. And you're given the choice to give your name or don't tell her your name. And if you opt not to tell her your name, then you sort of get like it's almost sort of the bad ending. You'll encounter Kyrick, who wants to kill you now in Waterfall Tears and Black Paper, and then finally you'll have your like final showdown with him in From the Depths. After Ash departs from you, you go back to Ruins 2, and in one of the rooms, Ash is lying on the floor dead, just like he was in battle training. And then Kyrick will try and attack you, and if you defeat him there, then he will give you Soul Eater, his scythe, as a reward. But in the event that you do tell Sue your name, you can then talk to Bernie in Graves Butler, either Waterfall Tears or Black Paper. I think it's Black Paper. Unsealed Door, and then in Seek My Master, when you find him lying in one of the hallways before like the big arena room where Zoke is, then you get an alternate ending to that quest. And then also telling Sue your name will open up a quest path in Soul of Steel, where if you examine the first computer after you've snuck past the security guard, the mag cell that Eleanor gave you will move. Then, if you listen in on the conversation between Eleanor and Dr. Montague about why Eleanor doesn't have a mag like everyone else does, then her mag cell will move again. And then, after Leo Greyheart and his robots attack you, before you go to ruins from there, there will be a brief cutscene where Sue like shows up and talks with Eleanor and Dr. Montague. Like basically sort of like interrogating him on what he's doing and how much do you know about what's going on Pioneer 2? And Dr. Montague basically says, well, they're sort of here as a innocent bystander in all of this. They don't know anything.
Wink, wink. Nudge,
Yep.
nudge.
And then you get an alternate ending to Soul of Steel that's even more tear-jerking than just like Alt explodes. Instead, the mother system activates from within Eleanor, and then you save Alt and Eleanor and Dr. Montague, and they don't actually like. Well, they do go into hiding, but then. Or still, but. You actually get a face-to-face encounter instead of just a thanks for your help email from Dr. Montague, like you do with the normal ending. But yeah, in that ending, Eleanor activates the Mother system, which is like a secret government experiment that Dr. Montague was involved with. That basically allows, or like, it's a sophisticated AI program that allows them to take control of any sort of computer system.
Yikes.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, it was what they were planning on using to control Olga Flow with, because they integrated the AI Olga computer to them.
Something tells me that backfires.
But then, and also in the ending cutscene for Soul of Steel, you see Leo Greyheart issuing orders to Ash and Matha Graves, which is how they end up in ruins during From the Depths, because From the Depths is actually a continuation of Soul of Steel, surprisingly. So yeah, on top of the alternate ending that reveals that what Matha Graves was doing in like the arena room in Ruins 2, and then later on Ash in the first room of Ruins 3 where you encounter him. It continues on into episode 2. After completing the VR trial and meeting Ellie person as your operator for this mission down to Galdeval Island, you open up a quest called Seed of the Heart, which is like probably almost a 3-hour long quest start to finish.
Oh god.
It's also like the only quest that kind of saves halfway through the quest so that you can kind of take a break.
That's
Intermission.
good at least.
Or more accurately, like start over again when you inevitably screw up the oddly specific plot line to get the true ending. Because yeah, you basically go through VR Temple, then VR Spaceship, then you and Ellie are then allowed to go down to Galdeval Island to Central Control Area, And from there, you find Callus manifesting itself into the real world because AI computers in a science fantasy game.
That almost never ends well.
Yeah. There's actually two manifestations of Callus appear. Like, there's the good Callus, and then there's the evil-looking pragmatic Callus. Hey, wait a second. There's Callus and then Battleline Callus. Seriously.
Oh, no.
And they're fighting with each other because good Callus wants to meet Ellie, and then bad Callus is like actually is kind of like, you know, you're still a computer whether or not you meet her in person, right? So like, why are you trying to do this sort of thing?
Yeah, that's similar to Battleline.
Yeah. But anyways, if you follow the correct sequence of events, then when you get to the control tower in central control, or in a central control area, Sue and Kyrek will show up, and Kyrek will join you going up the central control tower. And at the end of that, you will meet a manifestation of the mother system. And then the quest kind of ends the same way that it normally would, where you all end up on the beach of Galdaval Island, and then you can talk to Sue and Kyrek and catch up with them and see what they've been doing. Because as it turns out, Black Paper is not just the like black market trader that they tell you it is in Waterfall Tears and Black Paper in episode 1. That's actually a front for them. They're a secret government organization of like espionage operations, and well, in the case of Kyrek, also assassinations, because he is a robot specifically built to kill.
I live for the thrill of the kill.
Yep. Yeah, his sole purpose in life is murdering things, and he basically just picks up quests as like something to do in between. And yeah, then you get rewarded the rare barrier Ragol ring, which is not that great defensively, but it works functionally as escape doll exactly once before it disappears, so it's kind of a, get it one time for the bragging rights and leave it in your check room sort of item. But yeah, it's cool that it closes up storylines from like Dr. Montague and Black Paper and like all the way back to Battle Training, which is, at least on GameCube, the first quest on the list. For some reason, the order is rearranged in Blue Burst, but
Yeah, that's weird.
yeah. We came to that conclusion that like there's some weird quest order variances between Blue Burst and GameCube with Central Dome Fire Swirl.
Burning Rangers!
Like, I love that quest, and I love its placement on GameCube. On Blue Burst, not so much.
Yeah.
It was kind of rough.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, on Dreamcast, it's a download quest. So the order in which you play that quest doesn't exist, really.
Mm-hmm.
On GameCube, it unlocks after you've cleared every other quest in the game, from Battle Training all the way through From the Depths.
Huh. Yeah.
Uh,
Imagine it's pretty fun then, because you're decently leveled and
Yeah.
maybe even more leveled than you necessarily need to be.
Yeah, you're probably like level 26, 27 at that point. And then on Ephinea Blue Burst, for some reason, it opens up after.
As soon as you beat all the forest quests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense because the quest takes place entirely within Forest too, but it's the fact that you can't use techniques during that quest and then giving it that early on where forces basically have no melee capacity or ranged weapon capacity is really rough.
Yeah. Neil kind of got the poor end of that stick.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So yeah, speaking of that, when I mentioned last time that when I was just mashing the attack button during one of the battles for that, I was writing down a list of things I was frustrated with. I'm not gonna read all this just because we've already kind of like been negative on this game more than I would have liked, because I did really enjoy this game. But I did want to bring up, for a game made by Sonic Team, why is there no run? That drove me mad.
That's fair.
There needs to be a faster way to move.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, the walk speed felt very awkward in this game. Like the character was almost animated faster than they were actually moving, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, it is very strange for Sonic Team to not have a run option.
Right.
Yeah. And that actually led to a long time habit of mine in PSO. It's like anytime I would get to a boss warp, I would put a telepipe out in front just because if I died then, I don't have to walk from the start of the final area of a dungeon.
Oh, yeah, good
right.
point.
Yeah.
Because some of those areas can be pretty long.
Yeah, and labyrinthian too. Earlier this week, I was playing a level, and I put down a telepipe to go. I think I needed to buy monofluids. The fluids. I needed to buy more TP restoring items, and I put down a telepipe. Did all that shopping. I was happy, and then instead of going to my telepipe, I went to the main stage area. It was rough. And it was literally I hit the button and was like, no! Immediately as I hit it. That was rough.
Yeah.
But I do like the telepipe system otherwise.
Me too. It's one of those things kind of like escape ropes in like the classic Pokemon games where like I didn't quite understand the usefulness of it back then. Nowadays, it's like this is saving so many minutes of my life.
Yeah, it's like,
Right.
oh, you know what? It is kind of useful to just be able to teleport out from wherever I am.
Yeah.
The thing about telepipes, though, is that the fact you can go back in.
Yeah.
They're not completely busted because once you go back in, it disappears and you have to use another one.
Yep.
Oh, except for when you're playing multiplayer and they do become completely
You can do
busted.
magic.
Yeah.
So the telepipes only disappear when the player that placed them goes through them back to Ragol.
So you can put 2 pipes down and then go through the other person's pipe.
Yep, as long as
they
player
basically
A goes through player B's pipe and player B goes through A's pipe, they never go away.
Powerful.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And I think we had this come up a couple of times when we were questing together, Neil, where like one of us would put down a telepipe and or like we would accidentally like close out the telepipe before the other person comes out. You can
Mm-hmm.
open up a telepipe for someone on Pioneer 2 to
Just come right in. Yeah.
come right to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not like a thing where it's like, as soon as you have two people, immediately it's broken. You kind of have to figure out how it works and do it right. So it feels like you're, like it's like a sequence break where there's a trick to it.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, this is broken.
Yep.
Gaming the system.
Yeah. There is a third super useful application of telepipes, but it kind of only applies to the console versions of PSO. Just because the differences in the way that client server stuff works for Blueburst, and I believe also like PSO version 2 PC, because that exists. On console, since they have to reload the enemy data in a room every time you re-enter it from Pioneer 2 through a telepipe, you can use that to easily farm for rare monsters.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Which comes in handy on higher difficulty levels where you get super good rare drops from rare monsters. Like on Ultimate Mode in Episode 1 on Gamecube, I piped a mill lily. I think that's the name of it. Whatever the rare version of the poison lily is on Ultimate Mode. I manipulated it to appear and got a Sanjay, which is a 1 in 2 drop chance from that enemy. But the thing is, you have a 1 in 5/12 chance of that enemy appearing at all in a flock of poison lilies. So the drop rate is very deceptive. But it was made easy because they just place a telepipe, go through it, go back. Is the rare lily there? Nope. Okay, do it again. Can't do that on Blue Burst because everything is already set up on server side.
Right.
Which is unfortunate because on hard mode with my Raka Seal, the Gnar Lily, has a 7/8 drop chance for a God Arm, which is a armor unit that gives you, I think, like plus. I have a computer in front of me. I can just look this up. God Arm, plus 15 accuracy.
Nice.
No, wait, apparently not. Wait, no, never mind. No, never mind. Okay, well now I'm curious. What does Gnar Lily drop for Purple Gnome on hard mode? Oh, General Legs, which boosts your evasion power by 20. Yeah. Rare monsters are... oh, wait, no. General Legs is normal mode. HNS Justice is hard mode. Okay. Then God Mind is very hard. And then got a 1 in 205 chance for a Psycho Wand on Ultimate from the Mill Lily. Rare item hunting is incredibly fun. I wouldn't say I have drop tables completely memorized, but there's some specific stuff that I've got down. Yeah. Probably the one that I've been wanting to find the most is the Sealed J Sword, which is a 1 in 12,603 drop chance from a Gaigyu, which only appears at least in episode 2 offline, only appears like once per playthrough of Central Control Area. Yeah. It's very annoying. I will be lucky if I ever find that in my lifetime on GameCube, I think. Especially because it only appears, or like this drop is only on ultimate mode as well. And I think I'm at level 128 and I'm struggling to get through any of the areas of Central Control area. Because there's like a swamp area, a mountain area, and the the beach area. And yeah, that level 128 after having beaten 1 and 2 on normal, hard, and very hard difficulty, and ultimate on normal, or episode 1 on ultimate. I'm willing to hunt for it though. Yeah. I guess this game is kind of what makes me hesitant to like start up Final Fantasy 14 because of how like in depth and addicted to this game I've been for the last 20 years. Really don't know if I need a second one of those in my life.
Right.
But that's exactly why you should start Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm glad you brought it up because real talk, I think like especially after playing PSO again and getting a refresher on PSO's gameplay myself, I think you would genuinely enjoy the gameplay in 14.
Probably.
Especially some of the more active classes like the monk or something, or just basically any like melee DPS class where you're like really, really active doing stuff. It's incredibly fun.
Yeah.
Like it always starts slow. Like I think 14 now, especially unless you're playing a healer class where it is like you're just one button DPSing the whole time until you actually start having to heal people.
Yeah.
But they've done a good job of getting you out of that one button press loop very, very quickly and early on, where within the first 15 levels you already have your rotation established for pretty much all DPS leading classes. So instead of pressing one button over and over again, you're pressing 3 in a specific order. But yeah, I do, though, seriously, genuinely think that the gameplay in 14 would be right up your alley.
A dangerous proposition.
It's free all the way to the end of Stormblood.
Nice.
See, Mavis agrees.
Yeah, I mean, I could start up and then probably get burnt out on it like I did with the PSO2.
I'm just throwing it out there. If you guys wanted to start, I would make a brand new character to play right from the ground up with you.
Yeah, until
even though the level scaling and everything in dungeons and stuff, it doesn't matter. I could play with my level 100 main class and it would still scale me down to whatever level of dungeon we're running and stuff. But
oh, okay. Which is an improvement over I just straight up can't use my Rockasiel and Fonuerl characters playing PSO with you guys, or
because
my damage
one shot everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they've done a really good job with scaling in 14. The only place where it doesn't scale is obviously out in the world itself. But whenever you go into instanced content like dungeons and raids and stuff, it syncs you automatically to whatever level threshold that piece of content is at.
Yeah. Which, I mean, PSO not having that sort of level scaling is kind of to be expected for being what is originally a Dreamcast game.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
PSO, for being the original very first console MMO, it definitely walked, so that way later Final Fantasy 11 could also walk. So that
at a faster pace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you're running a mount. And then so that way Final Fantasy 14 could finally run. And run it has for 10 years.
Yeah. And I honestly wish on console there were more games like Phantasy Star Online, because like it seems like as far as online console games went. Where we live, it kind of like leaned more heavily into like the online multiplayer shooter type games than
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
these more community focused type games like Phantasy Star Online, Phantasy Star Universe, presumably Final Fantasy 11.
I wish they would. I mean, this is a terrible idea for many reasons. But I wish that Microsoft, now that they have Activision, would dedicate resources to porting World of Warcraft to consoles finally.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a terrible idea because it's World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Like, not terrible because World of Warcraft is a bad game, but terrible because of how addicting that World of Warcraft is.
Yeah.
But that game needs to come to console. Like, that's the game that basically spearheaded the modern MMO,
Yeah.
and it's still relevant 20 years later. Like, they've got a new expansion that's either just came out or it's coming out like very soon. Like, they're still building that game. And I
Yep.
guess they within the last like 5 or 6 years, they did like a vanilla WoW version. So that way, basically, they just took it all the way back to basics.
Yeah. It's like WoW Classic or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I'd like to experience that game, but I can't do PC MMOs. Just the comfort of being able to play it with the controller, and
Yeah.
the way that PSO and 14 are built around it.
Yeah.
Because that's another cool thing about 14. It is very, very playable with controller. Like, incredibly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they did a lot of work to really streamline that game for controller players. And outside of like playing a healer class where I'm still kind of not the greatest with it, like, but I mean, you could perfectly get by without any issues playing controller in that game, especially for a DPS class.
Yeah.
The only problem with being a DPS is everybody is a DPS.
Yeah.
So if you want to queue for content fast, you pick a tank or you pick a healer.
Mm-hmm.
But DPSs are fun, and especially the ranged ones like Machinist, which is my main class. Like, that class is just a vibe. Like, you're one of the most mobile classes in the game because you can move and you're a ranged fighter and you have free movement while you're using your abilities and stuff. So you can just like zoom around the battlefield and have no interruption to your rotations or anything like that. Where like a lot of other ranged classes, like for instance, like a black mage, famously, the black mage is like one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult classes in the game to play because you have to stand still so much of the time. You have to stand still for your cast timer to cast your spells, and then also the black mage's special ability is called a ley line, where you basically drop a sigil on the ground beneath you, and as long as you're standing in that sigil, you have a boost to your damage output. So you have the aspect of not being able to move while you're casting a spell, and then also wanting to stay in that ley line, while also having to worry about bosses that have mechanics that are going to force you to move. Stuff. So, but that's something that a lot of people also like about Black Mage is it's probably the most risk reward class in the entire game, because once you learn how enemies, like their cast times work, once you learn how all of that resolves and everything, you can really take advantage of it and be like, okay, my cast bar is filling up and this enemy ability that I'm standing in is going to resolve, but my cast bar is going to resolve first, like just a split second before, so I can let my cast go off, and then duck out of this danger area
Mm-hmm.
just right at the last second and stuff. And a lot of people like that gameplay.
Yeah.
The only issue with Black Mage is it doesn't get like super fun until you're like level 70,
Yeah.
80, 90. Like it's the meme. It's the Black Mage meme. Is like, yeah, Black Mage, it's super fun. It just doesn't get good until level 90.
Yeah.
And then every expansion that goes up.
Yep.
But no, I think the fighting game player in you especially would like a class like Monk.
Yeah.
Because you're literally just doing fighting game combos.
Nice.
It's pretty crazy. It's a little too active for my taste, but it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. But it'd be quite a change of pace from PSO's 3-hit combo system.
Single button 3-hit combos even.
You can push multiple buttons.
That's
sometimes.
true. That's true.
There
Like
are
sometime-
normal level or normal, hard, and special attacks that
That's
some
true.
weapons have.
Once I got to Ruins, I almost exclusively just used my heavy attack.
Yeah.
Just because at that point my accuracy was actually fairly well, where I wasn't really missing any more than I would with the normal attack anyway, if I was close enough.
Yep.
So I was like, okay. And that's another thing that made the game go really slow, is just the way accuracy plays into everything.
Yeah.
That could really drag things out sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And the way that damage calculations are done, it's that like even with incredibly high accuracy, like it still gives you a chance to miss your attack.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if you have a mag with like maybe 50 levels of accuracy on it, you're not going to miss basically anything.
Mm-hmm.
Which, when you're a ranger is great, but also like when you're a hunter, it's incredibly useful because hunters get access to a lot of like multi-targeting weapons as well as multi-hit weapons.
Yeah, I got a big sword that I broke that out every now and then for crowd controls.
Mm-hmm.
That was very useful.
Yeah. Swords and partisans are great crowd control choices. Part of why with my more like, weapon-centric characters, I took the time to go out of my way to get Soul Eater. Because even though aesthetically it's a scythe, it's a partisan, which is a multi-hit weapon. I believe it's more accurate with a little bit less damage output than swords, but with the added benefit of rangers can also equip partisans.
Yeah, I had to spec my mag to be able to equip the gun.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's probably the same thing for partisans. You just gotta spec it up a certain way.
Yeah. Partisans are attack power base for equip. I absolutely love the variety of weapons in PSO though. Like, as weird as it sounds, just the huge variety of weapons in the game make just your like one button 3-hit combo that much more, they all have different feels to them. Like even with them all sticking to just like the same basic 3-hit combo, like it still feels unique going between weapons. I think probably most notable with Hunter because like handguns are just kind of the same old. They feel like rifles, but with slightly faster combos. Rifles are slightly slower than handguns for fire rate, but then also deal more damage and have better accuracy. Shots are multi-hit weapons for rangers, which is okay. The thing with rangers is that you also have access to rifles, so if something's getting close enough to where a shot seems like a good idea, you probably should have killed it with your rifle already. There's a few rare weapon exclusive types as well that I wasn't able to find during our playtime, surprisingly. But there's stuff like double sabers, which would basically give you the Darth Maul lightsaber. Those are fun. They're multi-hit too.
Nice.
There's dual swords, which it's not so much like two swords it's not like the regular sword weapon just doubled up. It's more like a, twin saber type thing. So you're dual wielding short swords. Those are fun. They're almost sort of a like rare exclusive upgrade to dagger type weapons, which are I think my favorite non-rare melee weapons because really good damage output. Also claws and launchers, and there's also the Force exclusive card weapons, which are kind of exactly what they sound like. They're magic cards that they throw.
Magic cards.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they're also projectile weapons, so as soon as you can use even a basic one like Mahu or Talus, like it's worth carrying that over a handgun type weapon because its damage output's more based off of your character's mind stats than their power stat, which is non-existent if you're a force. Not to say that forces can't be completely technique centric. On Gamecube, I have a Fomar that is built as a sort of battle mage. Because I guess getting into class differentiations, Newmans have TP recovery when standing still. Casts have HP recovery when standing still, and humans don't do anything.
Ha!
So
Yeah, I did notice that my TP was just kind of steadily restoring itself as I stood still every now and then. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
didn't notice that.
Yeah, I slowly picked up on that as well. At
But
first
yeah,
I thought it was something exterior, but then I was like, oh wait, this is just happening everywhere, even on Pioneer.
Yep, which makes Newman characters great to play as for like technique-centric characters, and it makes cast like incredible tanks. Of course, they also have boosted attack and defense because they don't have access to techniques and no use for a mind stat. But yeah, you can do some fun builds with, or as like Bomar. They get, I believe, some increased range for offensive techniques. And then they have the highest like base physical attack power of the force classes. So what I did for my force or Fomar on GameCube was I sort of built it into being a physical attack centric force. So like when you inevitably run out of TP because you don't regenerate it by standing idle, and you will absolutely run out of recovery items. You're a force. It can at least defend itself. And forces also get access to Shifta and D-Band and Jelen and Zalur, which raise and lower attack and defense, respectively. Of course, the only problems with those is that, techniques cost technique points, and when you don't have them, you don't have them, and it's great. Always carry at least a singular telepipe with you because, especially as a Fomar, you can't just stand still until you have 10 TP to, telepipe yourself back to Pioneer 2 to buy stuff.
Yeah, I just tried to every single time I went in, just max out everything. Basically.
Yeah.
10 of everything.
That's something I would have liked seeing, like a little bit more max carrying capacity for each item, like maybe 15.
Yeah.
Although maybe that was more just I was playing a force and I had to go back and get fluids all the time.
Yeah. So the thing with forces as well is that they're, pretty low on the totem pole as far as like defense and HP stats too. So
yeah,
it's almost a good idea to carry like full stacks of monomates, dimates, and trimates with you for.
Oh yeah, I used mates more than like healing spells, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I had low HP, so like I only needed a couple of monomates to heal.
True. I think my Phone even on hard mode, still could probably get away with just using monomates for HP recovery instead of casting Resta.
Right.
but I've got like 1200 TP and I think maybe 300 some HP. It's a pretty pitiful amount, and I think my Rockasiel had more HP at lower levels on lower difficulties. Another fun thing about all of the different character classes that a few of them actually have like unique weapon attack animations for weapons.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's I think mainly the classes that were introduced with episodes 1 and 2, so like the GameCube and Xbox versions. So like Hugh Casil, Rom Marl, and Fomar, or no, Fomar. Weird. Yeah, Fomar is the class that was introduced. I don't remember. Because yeah, on the Dreamcast releases, there was only three hunters, 3 forces, 3 rangers.
They added one for each, and
Yeah,
re-release. That's cool. Nice
yeah,
little bonus to the ported versions.
yeah.
But I want to read one more little snippet from the Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, a couple things from the Wikipedia before we kind of shift gears and move along.
Mm-hmm.
And because otherwise Lucas will keep talking about PSO.
Look out! It's our first episode.
The first thing is just the general critic reception for the game. So it had a 89 Metacritic score, so it was very, very well received at the time. But what I wanted to hone in on with that was just the overall critics, like, seemed to all basically agree that the single player experience was a little dull. But as soon as you add in another player or an additional 3 players, like, the overall user experience just skyrockets and it becomes incredibly fun. And speaking from firsthand experience, playing the 3 of us was incredibly fun.
Yeah.
And this game, like there were some reviewers that would say is like, maybe pass on this unless you have a way to play it online. And I could see a lot of that, like, what they're saying there. Because I was, by the time I finally tapped out, I was like, I don't know how much of the single player I can keep going with. Like, I'm still more than happy to play multiplayer in this game because the limited multiplayer we got to play was incredibly fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
This I want to do
definitely
more. Yeah.
Come back for more of this.
Yeah, it's we don't talk about too many games with a single player multiplayer that often. Especially not as far as like that one game episodes go. But it's just really interesting how the game is like, it's kind of a single player, but like a hell yeah multiplayer sort of thing. Just find that a little bit interesting. Obviously, to our listeners, I mean, we have a channel set up in the Discord to arrange to play together, and you should come play with us.
Yeah.
All you gotta do to get Lucas to play is say, hey, let's play PSO, and then Lucas is right there. So
yeah.
But then there was one last thing that I wanted to point out from the Wikipedia article. So GameSpot back in 2001, PSO was nominated to be the best role-playing game on their Game of the Year that year, but ultimately lost to Final Fantasy X. Just want to throw that out there.
Just story of my life. There's just a Final Fantasy.
Oh man, but yeah, let's move on. I'm forcing us to move on. I'm
Force?
Oh my god,
What?
I'm using the force. I am the
Did
space
I
wizard.
mention that I really liked playing as a force? Lucas, want to talk about that a little bit?
I am using the force to force this conversation forward. And to our next segment, our weekly link to the past. And turning 9 years old today, the date of recording, September 15. But all the way back in 2015, a game called Undertale released on
That game exists.
many platforms.
I can't believe it's this old. That seems
I
like a
can't
newish
believe-
game.
Yeah. I feel like I didn't start hearing about it until probably 4 or 5-ish years ago.
Yeah.
But 9 years old already. It's like a retro-inspired RPG developed by Toby Fox.
Also known as Radiation from the Starman.net forums.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's
There's some
convenient
history
that
there.
Starman.net comes up because this is a very heavily Earthbound-inspired type of game.
Yep.
Just from aesthetics and certain ways it plays. I have not played this yet. I need to.
It's been in my Steam backlog for forever.
Yeah, same.
I partially because I've toyed around with doing a Let's Play of it back in the day. But
yeah, this and like I've heard some of the music from the game though, and all the music was also done by Toby Fox.
Yep.
And
Megalovania is a jam.
Yes, that's exactly the song I was thinking of. I think also
first appeared in Earthbound Halloween Hack.
He also interesting fact about Toby Fox is he contributed music to Smash Bros. Ultimate and also did the soundtracks for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I know about
that.
Super Smash Brothers,
so that's pretty...
but I had no idea he did work on Scarlet Violet.
I don't know if he did the full soundtracks, but stuff like the battle theme for the raids and stuff, that was Toby Fox, and he did a lot of tracks for Scarlet Violet.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's a franchise that's got a Smash representation.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a game that obviously we all have to play at some point.
Yeah.
But happy birthday, Undertale. Let's move along. That's the end of episode 59. Lucas, where can they find you outside the podcast? Yeah, I'm Pioneer 2.
Yep. Yeah. For my Raka Seal, since I'm actively playing right now, it's guild card 421041616. But really, though, you can find me on Linktree at linktr.ee/Karn_evil_999. It's got links for my Twitter that I kind of don't really use. I retweet stuff Colin tweets and retweets. Links to join the Discord, catch up on the podcast. Links to my YouTube channel that I run for the podcast, where I post long plays of the games we talk about on our That One Game series of episodes. PSO coming soon. Still actually have to work on that, surprisingly. Like, I've got plenty recorded, but, I mean, I'm still only up through Forest.
Wow.
It's a bit of a game to play through. What can I say?
It's a bit of a game.
Yep.
It's a bit of a game.
Yeah. And, it's hard to find time to get to my main desktop to record episodes in the quality that I want to record them in. Because otherwise it'd be recording to my laptop in, crunched resolution.
Yeah.
I want to make one of my favorite games of all time look really nice.
Understandable.
And then you can also add me on Steam if you want. Blueburst is its own executable, so it's not actually on Steam. But maybe if I ever get back into PSO2, you could join me then. But anyways, that's linktr.ee/Karn_evil_999.
Yeah, where can they find Neil outside the podcast?
You can also find me on Linktree at linktr.ee/freedomk89. I've got links there to my Twitch channel where I do Minecraft Monday every Monday. at pretty much 7 p.m. nowadays.
7.
EST 7 every night, every Monday. We play on the Rome servers. Sometimes we do bonus maps. We still have a map unfinished that was awful the last time we played it, so we're apprehensive about going back. But anyway, there's also links to That One Gaming podcast and my Twitter, which, similar to Lucas, I don't really do much other than retweet things and occasionally reply to Colin. And I also have a link to my YouTube channel, which sits there in stasis. But yeah, you can, again, that's linktr.ee/VK9. I'll shoot it over to Colin.
You can find me on Twitter at Delicious Morsel and also on YouTube at youtube.com/deliciousmorsels and youtube.com/@deliciousmorselsmusic. A couple of announcements for my main YouTube channel. I am going to start streaming again very soon.
Nice.
I have a game picked out. I have a tentative... No.
Damn it.
I have a tentative date picked out in the next month or so here. I'm currently trying to get everything organized. I need to kind of relearn how to do all this stuff because it's been a couple years since I've done like actual live streams.
Yeah.
And then on the music channel, all of my Final Fantasy songs, courtesy of Neil's editing prowess, are all up there now. And starting today, the day we're recording this, the Chrono Trigger songs are starting to appear. And so there's one that's live today, the day of recording, the main theme. And then tomorrow, as of when you're listening to this, the second one is going to be live. And then every Sunday and Wednesday until they are all there, that's when they're going to be there. So make sure to subscribe and check those out. I'm actually teaching myself a little bit of editing as well to put these ones together. And it's been kind of fun, except for the fighting with bogus copyright strikes, because for some reason there's bogus copyright strikes on every single Chrono Trigger song. So that's fun. Or they're not strikes, claims. There's a difference. Strikes bad, claims vary. Claims are just annoying. I'll just say that.
Yes.
They're just there to be annoying. Sometimes they're legitimate. In the case of these Chrono Trigger ones, they are very obviously not. So I'm hoping my disputes go through.
Yep.
But even if they don't, they will be there for you to watch and enjoy anyway. And then let's see what else. But in the event that the copyright claims don't get listed and the videos are still there, I still get full revenue kickbacks and stuff from streaming them, and they are on all streaming platforms already. You can find me on Spotify, you can find me on Apple, you can find me on basically anywhere, but links to those two are in the description down below. We also have a link to our Discord down below in the description. Go join us, come play PSO with us.
Please.
And please, Lucas is begging you. I promise he won't lock you in a basement like he did with Neil and I.
Yeah, it's only because I know where they live.
Yeah. So as long as you got that going for you, it's fine. But anyway, as always, if you liked what you heard here today, please be sure to hit the subscribe button where that's an option. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify because I hear they like that stuff. Hit the like button if that's a thing, and feel free to share this episode with a friend. We are going to be back in a couple weeks with another episode. But until then, have a wonderful rest of your day, and remember,
I'm going to play for the Boomers.
Stay for the Hildebears.
I'm finally free of this dungeon!